everyone, it's Nicole from Nicole Loves Nails. Welcome to my channel. So in today's video we have a new release from Knees Lacquer. I know last month I said there was not in fact going to be a collection from Knees, but at the time I thought that was true and then I found out it's not, so sorry. So for October we have 10 spooky ooky polishes inspired by the book Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I'm saying that correctly. I'm trying, people. It's written on the screen, okay? Much like last month, we have a whole lot of information on the sale stuff, so I'll save all that for the end of the video. Before we get into today's video, I got a couple of things to mention, and the first being, if you are new around here, hi, my name is Nicole. It is wonderful to meet you, and thank you very much for clicking on today's video. Do consider hitting subscribe if you enjoy nail polish and lifestyle related content. I upload new videos every single week on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I also go live on Sundays. If you are in fact a returning subscriber, welcome back. How are you doing? How is everyone doing? Like, this video is likely going to be going up on Wednesday instead of Tuesday because I'm not allowed to post about it until Wednesday. The products featured in today's video were sent to me by Knees Lacquer for the purpose of swatching and reviewing. This video is also sponsored. As always, all thoughts and opinions are of course my own, and thank you very much to Knees for sponsoring today's video. Down in the description box, I will have links to the Knees Lacquer social media. I will have links to the Knees Lacquer website and social media pages, as well as their stockist pages, my social media pages, as well as a link to my blog post on NicoleLovesNails.com, where I host all of my swatch photos, as well as provide a written review. And of course, timestamps are down there as well. Let's just get into this video. First up, we have a Talent For Misfortune, which Knees describes as being a grungy mauve with cerulean and purple shimmer. A Talent For Misfortune had a fantastic formula. Unsurprisingly, because this one is a shifty shimmer from Knees, it does start off fairly sheer and will need to be built up to get the most opacity. I'm going to sound like a broken record for this video because all the polishes in this release need to be built up for opacity, just warning you now. I believe the brand added a little bit of like a gray tone to this to make it more of a grungy mauve instead of just a regular mauve. As someone who's not generally the biggest fan of mauvey shades, I feel like that little touch of grayness added something to it to make me actually like this one a lot more than I expected. Shimmer isn't like a drastic crazy color shifty moment, but you do get a really pretty blue to purple color shift. I did notice quite a few little pigment specks in my polish. The brand is aware of this issue and it should not be an issue for customer bottles. In my personal opinion, the pigment specks were not like super intrusive on the final look of the polish. It was just something I noticed as I was swatching. I swatched a Talent For Misfortune in 3 coats plus glossy top coat. Coverage is overall fairly even, so if you don't mind super obvious visible nail line, it's definitely passable in 2 coats. This will of course look a lot more sheer in bright direct lighting when the shimmer is not as glowy. Nothing in here is going to dry down textured. Removal will be very easy but a little bit messy due to the shimmer, and I did not experience any staining. And now we have a Terrible Price, which the brand describes as a light olive green base with a glowy emerald to blue shimmer. The shimmer in this polish was just absolutely gorgeous. I am a little bit salty that we don't really see too much of the olive base once you build this one up in coats. Largely the color that you see on your nail with this one is going to be that emerald green, and then you get like a teal to blue kind of color shift on the nail. The shimmer was really shimmering in this polish. It's a super glowy, but it also has a very slight metallic look on the nail. In typical Knees fashion, this one had a fantastic formula, not too thick or too thin. Coverage with this one was pretty fantastic. This was one of the more opaque polishes in the release. I opted to swatch this one in 3 coats plus glossy top coat. I found in 2 coats it was a little bit too sheer and it didn't quite have the same depth of color that I was seeing in the bottle, but it's definitely passable in 2 coats if you don't mind about a little bit of sheerness. Removal for this one going to be fairly easy, but once again very messy, and I had no issues with staining. And now we have Give It Back Tenfold, which the brand describes as a smoky plum with a strong indigo to purple shimmer. Give It Back Tenfold is another kind of smoked out polish. I just really like anything that's really grayed out. Because the shimmer in here is so strong, you don't really get to appreciate too much of that super smoked out base. Like, the shimmer is strong. This is one of the sheer polishes in the release. I do think it also has some potential to be used as a topper, but because this one is so sheer, you're not going to be able to reach full opacity with this one without pairing it with like a visible nailing blurring base or like a more opaque base. I did notice a couple of pigment specks in this polish as well, and again, the brand is aware of the pigment speck issue, so it should not be an issue for customer bottles. I really love how this polish looks, but I also fully recognize that it does feel kind of similar to something that we've seen in the past. Specifically, this reminded me of You Look Like You've Seen a Ghost from last year's Radio Rental release. The two are by no means dupes, but I do recognize they do have a similar feel to them. I've got side-by-side comparisons up on my blog post too if you want to get a better look at the two next to each other. So that is 3 coats of Give It Back Tenfold. Super easy removal, but a little bit messy due to the shimmer, and I had no issues with staining. And now we have his Gentle Ruler, which the brand describes as a berry polish with a silver to green to blue shifting shimmer. I feel like his Gentle Ruler is one of the polishes in this release that is a little bit more unique to the Bee's Knees catalog. I can't really recall the last time Bee's Knees had a shimmer that one of the color shifts was actually silver. The shimmer gives this polish a very frosty, kind of metallic-ish kind of look to it. I'm sure many of you are fully aware that frosty polishes and me are not generally things that I really enjoy, but my biggest complaint with frosty polishes is always how much I dislike the brush strokes, and this polish does not show any brush strokes. You get a lot of like sparkly, shimmery kind of vibes from this one. Formula and application were once again really fantastic. This one also had really great coverage. Of course, nothing like being a 1 coater, but I will call it a 2 to 3 coater depending on personal preference. The only reason why I added a 3rd coat for my swatch is because I felt like the color I was seeing on the nail wasn't exactly the same color that I was seeing in the bottle. Otherwise, 2 coats had really fantastic coverage. Nothing in here is going to dry down textured. Removal is going to be very messy, but not overly difficult by any means. And while I did not personally experience any staining with this one, I still would, tell you to wear some base coat. And now we have Immutable, which the brand describes as a smoky eggplant base with a red to green microflake shimmer. There is just something about red to gold to green shifting anything. This makes me feel very reminiscent to when Unicorn P was like that girl as far as shimmers go. Immutable had a really nice formula. It starts off fairly sheer and fairly uneven, so you really want to build this one up to get the most opacity as well as get even coverage. I found that in 3 thin coats, I was able to reach nice even coverage and like 90% opacity. I'm guessing due to the shimmer in this one, I found that the base looked more like a reddishy purpley raisin color versus like what I think of when I think of the color of eggplant. The microflake shimmer is predominantly like a red to gold kind of color. I could see green at very extreme angles, but for the most part, you're gonna see like red and gold on your nails. The flakies do not dry down textured, and they did not appear to be particularly top coat hungry. You will want top coat for this one just to give it a nice glossy finish, and removal will be fairly easy, but messy. And now we have his Monstrous Queen, which the brand describes as an icy lavender polish with a pale gold to green shimmer. This is another one of the polishes that feels very unique to the Bee's Knees catalog. His Monstrous Queen had a fantastic formula, but this one is sheer. It is very sheer. It's one of the sheerer polishes in this release. The shimmer is mainly what you're getting for the opacity, so you really need to build it up to get the most opacity going. Like I said earlier, icy polishes are not generally my thing, but you do not get any brush strokes through this like metallic-y kind of vibe going on, so like I wasn't mad at it at all. As far as the shimmer goes, for the most part, what you see on the nail is that very pale gold. It honestly looks a little bit silver in brighter lighting. I could see hints of the green at very extreme angles, but predominantly this one just looks, like a very pale gold. This is going to be one of those colors that I just would never pick out for myself to wear, but having it on my nails and seeing it on me, I'm actually kind of really liking it, which I was not expecting. So that is his Monstrous Queen in 3 coats plus glossy top coat. Fairly easy removal, but it's going to be very messy. And now we have I Went to Hell for You. The brand describes this one as an olive green base with an extra sparkly orange to green shifting shimmer. This was one of the polishes that I was most excited for. I have just been really liking olive green bases, so I was really excited for this one. The base paired with the shimmer on this one is just like A++++. Like this is the fall in the bottle polish that I really wanted. The shimmer does cause this polish to pull very warm tone, so if you are like me and have warm undertones, you might have a little bit of a lobster hand situation. but that has never stopped me personally from liking something that is warm toned. So this one is on the more sheer side, so I do think it's going to be a 2 to 3 coated depending on personal preference. I used 3 coats for my full-hand swatches and I still had some very obvious visible nail line with it. The thing in here is going to dry down textured. Removal will be very easy, but you know, messy. And I did not personally experience any staining. And now we have I Have Been Crying Out to You from the start, and the brand describes this one as a squishy shamrock green with a glowy blue shimmer. This was probably my least favorite polish from the release. It's one of the more sheer ones, and there's just something about this level of sheerness in a green base that I found made my hands look like I had some kind of illness, perhaps. Normally for polishes this sheer with shimmer, usually the shimmer is the saving grace for me, but this was just not the one for me.
It's definitely a no for me, dog.
This one will definitely need building up if you're going to wear it on its own. I also would recommend trying to float your coats on. I found that the base was a little bit uneven, and I feel like some spots were greener than others, and I just did not really care for how this one looked. Other than not particularly being a big fan of this one, formula and application were both pretty good, not too thick or too thin. I swatched this one in 3 coats plus glossy top coat, super easy removal. I had no issues with staining, and you will want top coat for a glossy finish. And now we have Let's Give Them Hell. The brand described this one as a red clay with silver to green to blue shimmer. Let's Give Them Hell had a really nice formula. Last month there was a polish that I noticed that the shimmer color in bright lighting, it seemed to get washed out. While I don't think the color shifts on this shimmer are the same as that one, I feel like this is another one of those shimmers that in bright lighting the shimmer color itself gets a little bit washed out. You know, makes getting pictures of it kind of annoying, but you know, here we are. Both formula and application were fantastic with this one. I'm really glad that I was able to catch like a nice day when I was swatching this one and I got this one out in like natural lighting. I feel like the shimmer is true to color here in natural lighting, especially like when we're in the more shady side of my porch. This is another sheer polish, so even after 3 coats, you will still have fairly obvious visible nail line. Typical shimmer fashion, in low lighting when the shimmer looks the strongest, your visible nail line won't be as obvious, but in brighter direct lighting, you're gonna see your whole nail under there. So that is 3 coats of Let's Give Them Hell plus glossy top coat, super easy removal. I had no issues with staining. And the final polish in this release is called Reckless, and the brand describes it as a grayed out navy with a strong red to gold shimmer. The 10th time, this is a very sheer polish. The sheerness is on purpose. It lets all the shimmer goodness come through, so you will want to build this one up to get the most opacity. I'm guessing due to the color of the base, I found the red to gold shimmer looks more like a pink color to a gold. I'm really liking this kind of grayed out purpley base and then like a pink to gold shimmer. I was also very happy with this color combination. This one has fairly even coverage, so I'll call it a 2 to 3 coater depending on personal preference, and I also suppose also due to thickness in coats. While I did have some visible nailing with this one, it was not nearly as obvious as some of the other polishes in this release. So that is Reckless in 3 coats plus glossy top coat, super easy removal, and I had no issues with staining. Alright, and so that is everything. What'd you think? So Editing Nicole is going to be popping in a moment to give you all of her final thoughts and opinions on this release, because I have not actually finished swatching them at the time of recording, so take it away, Editing Nicole. So overall, I thought it was a nice release. Much like last month's release, I do kind of wish that there was more variety in finishes. I wish it wasn't just a bunch of shimmers and then like one micro flaky shimmer. I do wish that there was a little bit more variety in the colors as well, because it looks like there are 6, I think that is, 6 kind of purpley toned colors here. One thing that I did really like, I did like the amount of polishes that were a little bit more grayed out. I found that very enjoyable. But you know, even if I do wish that there were more variety in the types of finishes, I very rarely am going to be mad at having shifty shimmers. I think the 2 metallic-y shades, which are popped here in the corners, in the paperwork that I got from the brand, they did say that there are 2 new to Bee's Knees formulas, which I think were the 2 metallic shades. I Went to Hell For You is 1000% going to be my top pick from this release. I just really like the base color paired with the shimmer. I thought it was very pretty. Sassy D is here as well, helping me decide on top picks. I think His Gentle Ruler and Let's Give Him Hell will be my other top picks from this release. I'm kind of undecided, but I did like that metallic-y kind of vibe. So yeah, those 2 are going to be my top picks from this release. Also, if you are wondering if there are going to be any overpours from last month's collection, that will be a no. And there are no mysteries for this release as well. Currently, according to the paperwork that I just received, that the overpours from last month's collection are likely going to be a part of the Black Friday sale for November, so stay tuned to that. So yeah, I think that's everything. Sassy, do you have anything to add? Come on, they can barely see you. All they see is like your little head. Sassy, do you got anything to add? Okay, I guess that's it from us. Take it away, Nicole. Thank you, editing Nicole. Alrighty, so this collection launches on October 13th at 7 p.m. When the collection launches, there'll be a 1 polish per color per person limit in place. That limit gets lifted on October 15th at 11:59 p.m. There is a soft cap of 1,000 bottles on every single one of these polishes. If that 1,000 polish cap sells out, fear not, the brand will restock, and they will need a 3 to 4 week period after the sale period closes to replenish those items. There will be a listing available on the website where you can purchase all 10 polishes at a discounted rate. There are only approximately 100 of those available, and the polishes sold in that listing where it features all 10 polishes, those will be ready to ship at the time of ordering? That sounds right. Those will be ready to ship at the time of ordering, so if you want to get the whole release as well as like not have to wait. So I would love to know what everyone else thought of this release. Are you planning on picking up? Y'all know the drill. Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions. Before we end today's video, I want to give a very special shout out to my channel members. Besties, thank y'all so dang much. You guys are seriously the best, and your names are on the screen right now. If you would like to sign up for my channel memberships, I have a link for that down in the description box. But you know, as always, no pressure for me. Just like the video, comment, share, subscribe, all the things, and we are good around here. So just thank you all so very much again for watching today's video. I hope everyone has a fantastic week. Happy shopping, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!